May it serve all being. So a couple of themes, I guess you might want to call it, come forward at this time of year, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, right? Where all the days are becoming dark. We're getting ready for the birth of light. Many of the great paths and traditions for spiritual consciousness and embodiment celebrate light at this time of year. And also the holy aspect of it, holiness, holiday, holy days, wholeness, wholeness, that which is beyond division, the the wholeness that is. And I'm so happy that we're going to come together and lend ourselves to this celebration, really. It's a celebration of light. It's a celebration of the um, unimaginable gift of consciousness. We spend a lot of time, I think, grumbling around. It's not a failure. It just happens. We spend some time grumbling around about a lot of things, and I mean, it can be from, a surface sort of thing like winter seasonal affective disorder or whatever they call it to, the whole big scope of global uncertainty and unrest. But when we come together in remembrance of who we really are, the focus of the attention shifts to this gift of consciousness, the gift of radiant presence, awareness that provides every moment, the light. And I'm talking about the light that is. It's the light that is. It's the light that is when we're toddlers, when we're teenagers, middle-aged, old-aged. It's the seeingness, the awareness, the consciousness when our eyes are closed, when our eyes are open, when we're asleep, dreaming or awake. That becomes quite fluid in definition at a certain point. The word nativity means to bring forth. The nativity, the birth of the light, to bring forth the light. So not only to remember what one is, who one is, and what everything else happens to be as well, the wholeness of it all, but to bring it forth, to evoke, and to bring attention to something that is so ubiquitous, always, already, as Adi always says, that it's not generally an object of the attention. It can't really be an object of the attention, but the attention doesn't rest in and as the light that it is very often. Meditation, where the attention is generally very interested in what's coming and going, all the phenomena, what we consider to be the light, everything that's lit up. But when the attention begins to Wonder, that's another beautiful, tangible experience of this time of year is wonderment. Wonderment. When it begins to wonder, and your wondering could be different, but it could be as simple as, what is always here? What is here, regardless of the shifting light show? What is the light that is lighting the world? I am the light of the world. I am is the light of the world. So this birth of light, it's ever fresh. That's the other sense of, I don't know, the wonderment and the this time of year is the freshness. You know, everything is returning to the roots here in the Northern Hemisphere, returning to the roots, returning to the ground. And there's this freshness in the air as things begin to be darker and darker and darker. Here comes the light. I think the Western mind can have a lot of, in the 13 years I've been teaching, I've seen a lot of fear around the darkness, what some have called the void. I don't like that word. It doesn't fit the experience here. But the radiant ground that is before and beyond all experience, all position, all definition, all identification, that which is beyond and before, the radiant dark light. The Western mind gets a little scrambly, a little itchy. Like, it appears to be nothing and it's empty. And it's especially empty of me. But that direct knowing of each moment as the birth of the beginningless beginning from the dark ground. It's not just a philosophy, it is actual. It's actual. Brings a quality to one's life that is indescribable. I've tried to describe it in many, many ways. My latest thing is cellular celebration. It's not to say that everything is instantly non-challenging or, we don't have all the poignant beauty of a relative life. It's not to say that the relative life will be relative, but it brings a context to that relativity that is indescribably joyful. Indescribably joyful because it's unreasonably joyful. It's unreasonable. Somebody said, and I can't find who said it, but it's been just dawning here, these very simple words, but that are very descriptive. of, I guess what I'm trying to say, if I'm trying to say anything. Somebody said, God showed up today as flowers, and I, waiting for all the important words, almost missed the conversation. And that's the truth. It's the truth. Not relative truth. I have mine, you have yours. Nobody has to everybody can pick up their positions on our way out. And it makes for fun diversity in life. But do you hear what I'm saying? Ajay used to say there's more holiness in one blade of grass than can ever be described by words. It gets really, really simple. And I don't know about you. Maybe that phase won't rock you, but it did here because I had a very, very active and interpretive mind. Narrating and interpreting and describing, lining the whole thing out. And so when everything began to kind of get super simple, like I'm almost missing the conversation simple. It was, a reorientation that was not necessarily easy here. It wasn't necessarily easy because it was always going to be too simple for the mind. Always. 100% of the time, too simple for the conceptual intellect. I'm not against conceptual intellect at all. As I've said many times, I don't recommend trying to live without it. It's strange. But when it's in service, it's a tool in the toolbox. It's a joy in consciousness that gets to be expressed through engineering, building, I don't know, dancing, joyfulness, cooking, whatever we bring our intellect to. And it's serving rather than claiming its divinity, like absolute divinity. In the Western world, this whole intellectual gig seems to take the primary seat and portray itself as essence, as fundamental, which is interesting because we all go to sleep at night and that all disappears and somehow we live. I mean, we make it through the night without that. On many of the paths, in many traditions, there are the questions that are for the heart. They're the universal existential questions of the heart, of the soul, of the spirit. Where did I come from? Where is it going? Where does it go at night when it's asleep? What is this? Was the question here. What is this? It just started drumming like a rhythm, like a primordial boom. What is this? 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 Nothing. When the mental conceptual framework begins to it can either dissolve, loosen up, become somewhat meaningless. I think that's happening to a lot of people, like kind of a collective dark night sort of thing, where the mental constructs that we have put on top of actual reality to define meaning and purpose are really falling away for a lot of people, and it's really disorienting and very adrift. But it's a call. It's a call from the spirit. It's a call from the soul. It's a call from the heart. Because that causeless realm of every moment, let there be light, every moment as the Big Bang, every moment as the birth of love, every moment as the birth of light, as that is, oh, beginning to be known again consciously, all the mental conceptual framework that is so important has so much arrogance, self-importance, intellectual importance begins to fade, dissolve, deconstruct, dismantle. And it can feel super disorienting, especially to those of us in the West. Like when I teach at the temple with the Tibetans, my sense, I've asked Kenpo this, is this like a Western thing or is, and that's his sense. I mean, we're just very prideful in our intellectual capacity. It's a beautiful thing, but it isn't essential. It isn't the light that lights up the intellect. A I'm having funny things go through my head, like a sales pitch for context, but a sales pitch for the eyes of awareness, the eyes of presence. It's whole. The view is whole. The perception is whole. It isn't essentially divided anymore. It appears in these beautiful expressions. But if one is quiet, one can feel the one thing happening, the wholeness through and as and from. And strangely, when the mental constructs begin to they're not so believed. They're not so staunchly and firmly and positionally believed as, reality, then strangely, causeless goodness, causeless joy, causeless love, causeless cellular celebration arises. It's not achieved, rewarded, manufactured. All the rest, it may be in complete contrast to whatever the appearance is that might be super difficult. And then the mind will be like, wait. But the mind will always want to be dividing it and defining it. And if we just stick with the actuality, stick with the experience, feel the whatever, without laying more and more and more and more conceptual stuff on it, without that, but just, the actuality without indulging and or running away, then what begins to arise is something that is beyond all of that frameworking, all of that controlling, all that position, defense, all the stuff that, it's not a failure. It's just, it's needed for survival when we are living a limited sense of ourselves. When we're living a limited sense, then all those things are needed. So it's a beautiful time of year to really sink in to um, the expressions, of light as it's being born from darkness, because the environment, right, is, or whatever we would call the sun and the moon, is really bringing that forward in a very tangible way. And all the celebrations of light from the different traditional spiritual paths. And just the quietness of winter. The quietness of winter as it sort of brings us into that returning to the root. Returning to the root, the ground, that which is beyond. And we can, maybe more easily, directly experience who and what we are fundamentally, essentially. And then here comes the light as love, bringing itself into form in order to, I'm going to say it, love itself, see itself, be itself. And then through no fault or sin or anything like that, but just through sort of an innocent mistake, the self-consciousness, the ability, the capacity here to experience itself as the reflection, through the reflection, starts becoming in a false sort of believing way, it starts believing itself to be separate, a separate thing that is like born into the world rather than from and as it. And that's the existence of separation. And I'm certainly familiar with it. I don't know about anybody else, but it's a struggle. We see it all around, all day, every day. And what we've been very accustomed to relying on to position ourselves in a way that makes that separate sense feel okay for a little bit. Our concepts of meaning, concepts of all of it, control, justification, righteousness, the whole lot. But the heart of the I am, the heart is the organ, the area, the facet of perception that is whole. It sees from and as wholeness. It still has to make difficult decisions like, no, thank you. It's not that it's limited to only yes, it's limited to only no, or it's limited to this, or it's limited to that. It's free, it's liberated. So all potential and possibility is within this expression as love. But it's not divided. It doesn't have to have a position in order to say yes or no, or, like a separate sort of idea, a justification, a definition of the why and all of that. It's naturally responsive. So at any point in our reactivity, we have these nervous systems that are beginning to unwind and beginning to bloom into some other format and beginning to come into a sense of what wholeness embodied is. But at any point during a reactivity, a string of reactiveness, there's this capacity to breathe, go down, back, and in, and listen to something other than the narrative. Or even possibly to recognize and remember that light. That light. The light that was given to the world as the world. And in that capacity is a whole new world. It's a whole new world. It's a whole new experience. It's full of outcomes beyond reasonability and protectiveness and all the rest. Not that it may need to protect. It's difficult to really talk about because it sounds like I'm to our minds, it's got to be this or that. And so to speak about wholeness and the actual living of it is, I'm still really probably failing at that, but it's just, I know, that I am certain of. Because we are that. That's what we are. That's what we are. So beyond that, thinking about it, trying to find a limit, because it's like I was talking about that dark, what did Jan call it that one year at retreat? Generative cauldron of reality. There are no, limit isn't a thing. Possibility, it feels it, the sense of it Not the philosophy, not the words on the page, but the sense of it is limitlessness. But for the mind to bump up against limitlessness is really funky because that's what the mind is doing literally all the time. Not in an evil, bad, we're against it sort of way. It's just that it's like a hammer hammers nails. An intellect puts limits and definitions around things so that we can have this particular experience of a me and a you, an us and a them, but it's not believable. Fundamentally, it's not believable. Essentially, do we have to show up for it? Yeah. Yes, because that's what life is. And I mean, it's what the Buddhists call halfway up the mountain to just realize the transcendental oneness, the glory of that, the glory. It's a whole another like the arms of enlightenment or whatever. The whole other arm is embodiment of that, embodiment of it, living of it. So bringing that causeless, limitless, absolute love to and as one's expression, one's flower in the garden, one's blooming. But let's put it that way, when we inform from and as true nature, the light, the birth of light, the beginningless beginning, now. When we inform as that consciously, well, I mean, that's the joy of Sangha. That's the joy of reality as it is. That's the joy of, source, God. Dancing, Shiva dancing, emptiness dancing. Or from a different path. That's from, the path of Shiva Shakti, from a different path. Source God so loved the world that the Father Mother gave it its only expression, its son, its daughter. Existence, uncovered, unobscured, dismantled conceptually, is joy. Maybe not for the mind initially. Maybe not for the mind initially. Somebody at retreat was talking about how the phases of the mental meaning of everything is getting really, intense. I've had so many people talk to me the last couple of years about, just feeling kind of like a flat line, the meaning, the purpose, the personal will dissolving, all of that stuff, the kind of the collective dark night. But this is, I'm going to say it, it's a good sign. It's a good sign. Because we can't, as Albert Einstein said, it's not going to happen that the, quote, problems of the world are solved at the level they were created. That's not going to happen. So the way we see the way we look at things, the meaning we impose, the beliefs that we consider to be fundamental, the positions we consider to be fundamental to our existence are being dismantled, being questioned, sometimes purposely by people who are like engaging with a spiritual path, and sometimes just lightning bolt. Everything you thought about everything gone. I really feel, here, when all of that started, downloading and being directly experienced a couple of decades ago, I just thank God, because I had a yearning that was like the kind of urge you can't ignore, like, an itch that must be scratched or whatever. You cannot ignore it, to build community. Because I just had this sense that how, with all of this happening in our little isolated islands of our living rooms and our mental abstractions, are we going to do it? I mean, it just was like, woo, community. And I started finding out about the word Sangha and that kind of thing. And very, very gratefully and fortunately, I'm sort of just going from one Sangha bubble to the next at this point. And I'm happy because, like I said, for some reason, I just had this knowing that, this wasn't the lifetime of go up and sit in a cave in the Himalayas by myself. This was the community. This was the community time. Like Thich Nhat Hanh said, the next Buddha will be a Sangha. So, even if we don't even understand why we're sitting here listening to this lady on a Wednesday morning of all things, it was literally the only day I had and the only time I had, literally. So, I mean, it was strange, but you guys are all here. If we can somehow take heart, I know we all have our own experience. I know we all have our own language for everything that's happening. But somehow or another, we're here together. And if we can take heart in this unfolding that does involve unraveling, the unfolding involves unraveling. If we can somehow take heart together, that this isn't like just, I don't have to bear this, figure it out, control it on my own. And there are other people beginning to widen and expand and listen from a deeper, more profound place. And this is all happening. It's happening like apples ripening. Like, we're showing up. We're showing up. We're showing up. We're doing the best we can. We are doing the best we can to view the world from a deeper sense than the mental constructs and mental positions, a deeper sense. It won't show up as a deeper intellectualization. It won't show up like that. It won't show up as a more crafty, well-spoken, whatever. I mean, the words will come and follow, and many of you will write beautiful things and influence people with, words of truth. but it won't show up that way. It's a sense. It's a sense. And it's a commitment, really, a devotion to learning one's language of the heart. You might call it intuition, but it's even beyond that. And it causes some uncomfortableness. I mean, I'm certain there are people that just turn right onto it. Maybe the people who are being born onto the planet right now won't have to go through the rewiring and the uncomfortable sense of complete and utter disorientation when one realizes that the conceptual framework of reality is only that. It's just the conceptual framework of reality. It doesn't have much to do with the actual experience of unadorned light that one is. So yeah. I think about the words of Nisargadatta a lot as this, we're kind of like the realization of the still point of the turning world. T.S. Eliot said, the still point of the turning world. You can feel it. You guys can all feel it. There is a still point. And Nisargadatta said, when I look out from that, I see everything, and I call it love. And when I look in from that, I see nothing, and I call it wisdom. And between these two, my life turns. Just as we're settling in and bringing that attention somewhere deep, deep in, back down and in, taking that out breath, recognizing where one is, and just, making a deep kind of intimacy and communion with that regenerative quality of silent stillness, awakeness that is inherent to each moment. And this is from that book, Original Meditation, The Aramaic Jesus and the Spirituality of Creation. It's about the light. Where do you come from the Gospel of Thomas? And he said, if they ask you, where do you come from? Tell them, we have come out of the light, from the place where the light is existing, past, present, and future, where the light by its own hand rises to standing and shows itself in the image of the one and many. So just in these last few moments of this joyous celebration, this coming together, let's see if we can bring the attention just somewhere out of the narrative, just for a moment. Just relaxing out of narrative, relaxing out of opinion, relaxing out of thought and belief and tasks and the intellect. You can follow the breath if that's helpful, or just very precisely bring the attention deep into the center of the chest, kind of right behind the physical heart, in the heart of the chest, or the heart of the belly. Or if you're brave and you can hold center in the thought stream into the heart of the brain, the heart of the head. the deep center, the spinal cord, the deep center, the deep center within each and every cell, the nucleus, the atomic structure, the cosmic structure, the center of the center of the center. We come from the light, where the light is existing, past, present, and future now. And just feel that, feel the newness, the freshness, the sense of aliveness, whether one feels down or depressed or challenged or grumpy or happy or sad or glad or neutral. There's this aliveness, alive, alive. There's a depth, a profundity, and a naturalness, an inherent true nature that is a giving way. It's giving constantly, eternally, infinitely, always, inherently. As water is wet, it's inherent. True nature is giving this moment. It's a beautiful, fortunate miracle to be consciously alive. So find that place inside so that you can directly experience it within your own sense of being. Then attend, bring the attention there. And it's deeply habituated. It's deeply conditioned to be listening and attending to narrative. So it's not a failure, but we can just begin to notice when the attention is caught, caught up, embedded, entrenched, magnetized, and mesmerized by the narrative, the narrative. And just take a deep out breath, relax that attention, drop down and back and in, sensing very directly the, the alive quality of this moment without description. Just the right here, right nowness of it, the freshness. May it serve all being.